Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Agakura. I'm a highly sensitive person, and as a life coach and NLP practitioner, I work with highly sensitive people. Now, I would like to begin this video by asking you the following question. You are a highly sensitive person. Do you belong to any other minority groups or any other minority group? Well, we've already established and we know that being highly sensitive means that we are a minority, highly sensitive people. I've read that we make up between 15 and maximum 30% of the world's population, which means that wherever we are and in whatever settings we move, we will most probably always be in the minority. Now, why I'm asking you whether there are any other minority groups that you maybe belong to, and I mean, when I'm saying that, I also mean being in the minority or in a group of minority where you've been exposed and to being criticized, being bullied, or maybe being excluded. And it could be anything. It could be ethnic minority, but it could be anything that sets you apart as a minority, including a gift, a special gift or talent, because as we know, sometimes this also leads to us being in the minority and also having to deal with being hated on for that. So the reason why I ask this is because I am convinced that the fact of being highly sensitive has highly influenced the way you have experienced these events, these incidents where you have been bullied, where you've been hated on, where you've been criticized or excluded. Why is that? Because as highly sensitive people, we are more sensitive than the majority of people around us. We feel things in a more intense way. We live things, we experience things in a more intense way, and we also process things in a more intense and deep way and level. So we really have all these layers where we experience things. It's not just something happens and then maybe it bothers us for some time and then that's it. But it can really lead to us. We're known for processing everything that happens around us, to us and to others on a deeper level, and also being very perceptive to other people's moods, and so also being very perceptive when there is hostility, that when we're met with hostility. That is one thing. And I've also talked to other people who have been bullied or excluded, for example, for being in the ethnic minority, and I've asked, so how do you deal with it? Don't you also experience this in this really heavy way? And I've heard people say, well, it does bother me or does hurt me, but at some point I just get over it. Or I've had even people, I've been together with people who were also bullied for being in the ethnic minority, and they were laughing at these events and saying, oh, I don't care, and just get over it or forget it, or just let go. I mean, these are things that do not come easy to us highly sensitive people. That's one thing. Another thing that I do believe is that these experiences may most probably have led to us making what we call in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which is, I'll just briefly say, it's looking at, for example, beliefs that we have about life, about the world, about ourselves, that are limiting us in and not allowing us to experience life to its fullest and the beauty of life, for example, and replacing them with more with thoughts that benefit us more. With more resourceful thoughts. So taking the unresourceful thoughts that do not serve us, that limit us in our experience and in our decisions and the way we see things and life and ourselves, and then replacing them. And there's something that we call limiting decisions. So an event happens, and at that moment we make a decision that limits us. So for example, what has most probably happened when these events have happened, we've turned against ourselves. We've become unconsciously and maybe unknowingly and without even wanting or making, we didn't sit down and said, I'm going to become my worst enemy, but we've drawn conclusions that have actually turned us into our own or worst enemy. Thoughts like, I'm a laughing stock, I'm not lovable, I'm ridiculous, I'm the reason this is happening to us. And by doing so, liberating those that actually did what they did to us from their responsibility, and they're out of the equation. We are the reason we were bullied. This trait of ours, whatever it is the reason, or this talent of us is the reason why we were excluded or hated on. And sadly, this has happened and has also then also led to us making limiting, having limiting behaviors where we've limited ourselves from maybe experiences we would have liked to have, maybe going to places we would have liked to go, doing things we would have loved to do, or maybe just dimming our lights so that people don't come and hate on us because of the talent or the gift, or just hiding and staying out of sight so that we don't experience this bullying anymore. So what has happened is that the event happened, we drew a conclusion, or the event happened maybe once was enough, but most of the time it's we're repeatedly bullied, hated on, or excluded. We come to a conclusion, and this conclusion is against us. It's limiting towards us. I'm a bad person, I'm the reason this is happening, I'm ridiculous, and so on. And then from there on, also it takes on the driver's seat and the steering and drives our lives in a direction that we never wanted. We end up maybe living a life that is not the life we would have wished for ourselves. And in order to get back to being the ones in the driver's seat, to becoming our best friends, and to taking the steering in our hands and steering in the way, our lives in the direction we want to, it's important to do a work that may be very painful, and that is actually unraveling those lies. They're lies. Because I'm here to tell you, if you're bullied, the reason for bullying is not to be found in the victim. The reason of bullying is to be found in the bully. The reason of being excluded is not to be found in the person who's excluded. It's to be found in the group or the society that is not ready to accept the person and to include them the way they are. And that is the truth. But we've come to believe these lies, and it's important to sit down to really think of the events and the things that have happened to us due to being a minority, things that we have experienced. And then also think of the limiting conclusions that we have made due to these events, the conclusions that we have made against ourselves and that have turned us against ourselves. It's painful work, but it has to be done. You need to tear out the weed in order to then have the joy of planting and cultivating your garden, the garden of your life, and planting it with the trees, the plants, and the flowers that you want to see. But there's no way around this painful work. And I would really ask you to take that time to write down the experiences and to think of all the limiting conclusions that these experiences have led to. And it's a bit like really tearing the root from the bad, tearing out the bad from the root, sorry. And it reminds me of the time I had actually a root canal, and I went to the dentist, and until then it had always been like, there's a little bit of caries and we'll just drill a bit and then we'll do the filling and you're done. And that time was the most painful treatment that I had, and then at the end the dentist looks at me and said, that's the beginning, you need to come back, you need another appointment. And I was like, why can't we do it like always? And he was like, because the problem is the infection has reached the root, we need to really take out the root, but after that there will be no pain, which is also a little bit a picture that I'm painting in comparison to the work that you are going to do by tearing out the root of these experiences and the limiting conclusions that you've made. And there may be tears, let them flow. If you have to scream, scream, because it can be painful when we realize what thoughts we've allowed in ourselves, how we've turned against ourselves, and how we've limited ourselves from living a life that we would love to live. But it's there, the life is still there, the garden is there. We just have to tear out the weeds first before we can cultivate it. Thank you very much. I hope that this video has been helpful, and I hope to see you in the next video, where I will then explain what we do when we found all the weed, the lies. Thank you very much.